Hey there, English speakers. Welcome to another very special episode of the More Than English podcast. I am your host and teacher, Jesse, helping you get to that next level in English and in life. And I have a question. What's the difference between an excuse and a reason? What's the difference between an excuse and a reason? Now, we can all make excuses for things, and it's very easy to call it a reason, right? Why didn't you do your homework? Because blah, 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 blah. Why didn't you study this week? Because I was too busy, I didn't have time, I didn't have energy, I was sick. Why didn't you go to the gym this week? Well, because I didn't have time, because I didn't have energy, because I was sick, because I was doing this. Why didn't you practice the thing you're trying to improve at? Well, because I was tired, because I didn't have energy, because I was sick, because I had other things. Okay, they're always present. They are always there. Excuses, they're everywhere. And guess what? They're so easy to find. They're way too easy to find. Excuses are always there, and excuses are really the first things that come to mind about why we don't do things. Aren't they? Aren't they? Question tag. But what's your excuse today? What's your excuse for why you didn't wake up earlier today? What's your excuse of why you didn't study that grammar that you were supposed to study or do that homework assignment? What's your excuse for why you didn't do whatever it is you were supposed to do? Why you didn't go to the gym? Why you didn't take your children to the park? Why you didn't stay on that diet? Why you ate that chocolate cake? Why you bought that bag of Doritos? What's your excuse? What's your excuse? More importantly, was it an excuse or was it a reason? And that's what I want to talk about today. You see, until very recently, and I really gave it some thought, I didn't really know what the difference between an excuse and a reason was. Right? I really didn't know. Where do you draw the line between an excuse and a reason? And what makes it an excuse or what makes it a reason? That's what I want to ask you about today, and that's what I want to talk to you about today, and I want to share a little anecdote. So, well, first of all, let me share the anecdote first. And this was day number 1, the first day of my English teacher training course. I took an English teacher training course. It's called the CELTA, and I took it in Click in Sevilla, in Seville, Spain. But on my very first day, I was late, right? And they give you information, they send you information and a little homework to do before the course starts. So that way you get an idea. You start getting in the mindset of doing this work. So they send you that before the course starts, and you're supposed to do some assignments. And in the notebook, they remind you, don't be late on the first day because, first impressions are very important. First impressions are big. Right? First impressions. I've talked about first impressions before, to make a good first impression. That's so important. We all know that. But the expression is to make a good first impression. To make a good first impression. Right? It's important to make a good first impression. Well, on my first day of class, I got up, I got my bag ready in enough time. I woke up early. I woke up good. I felt good. I took my bicycle, strapped my bag to the back rack of the bicycle. I strapped my bag on, meaning I took an elastic band. We call it a bungee. I took an elastic strap and strapped my bag to the bike rack, to the back of my bike. My bike had a rack on it to put my bag on. I strapped the bag to the rack and I started to go to the class. Then the strap broke. It wrapped around my tire. It took my chain off of the chain rack, and I couldn't move. I couldn't move my bicycle. So then I had to get off the bike, turn it upside down, unwind the strap, which took a long time, and take the strap out of the spokes. The spokes of a bicycle are the little sticks that are in the tires, right? They go from the tire to the base of the wheel, right? The spokes, the little sticks that you see in the bicycle wheel. They're called the spokes. The spokes. But I had to take the strap. It was tangled in the spokes. To be tangled in something means that it was kind of, confused. It was tied all in a mess. It was a complete mess. So after I got it untangled and I eventually made it on my way, I arrived late on my first day of my training course. That was kind of embarrassing, especially since I had experience as a teacher before this. And I always hated it when students came to class late and then they came with an excuse. Oh, sorry, I was in the bathroom, or I was getting water, or whatever, right? I was getting a book from my locker, whatever the excuse was. I didn't like that. So I came to class late on the first day, and during our break time, the teacher went into his office, and I felt it was my responsibility, as a teacher in training and a teacher myself, I should go in and apologize to him for being late. So I go in the office and I say, sorry, Ian, for being late. I apologize. I have no excuse. I just apologize. And to which he said, well, you could have a reason. And I said, it's the same thing, really. Just, I apologize. And another teacher looked back. I remember her face clearly. She looked back with bright eyes and kind of a shocked look. She wasn't expecting that answer. And I could tell that she was really impressed. That made me feel good. And I think I turned that bad first impression into a good first impression. So I guess there's a lesson in there that there is a second chance to make a good first impression. You just kind of got to be honest and do it well. But anyway, that's not the point of the story. The point of the story is, what is the difference between a reason and an excuse? Because I don't believe that they necessarily are the same thing. Do you? Do you? Question tag. Do you believe that they are the same thing, or are they different? Well, I believe they are the same thing and they're different. And to me, the difference is in the purpose of why you're saying it. I think that's the main difference between an excuse and a reason. Let's take my bicycle example. I think my excuse, I guess we'll say, or my reason about how the strap broke, my bike strap broke, and it wrapped around the tire, it wrapped around the chain, it wrapped around the spokes, and I spent a long time trying to get it untangled. I was frustrated. I was angry. That's a pretty good reason for being late, especially since I left in plenty of time to not be late, right? I woke up early. There's no problem. Is this a reason or an excuse? The difference is the purpose of why I'd say it, as I said before. It's a reason. It's a good reason for being late, I believe. The thing is, if I had said that in that moment, it would have been an excuse, I believe, to me. It would have been an excuse because the difference between a reason and an excuse to me as a teacher and as a parent and as a person, I guess, as a man, the difference between a reason and an excuse is, why are you saying it? And an excuse is you're saying it to take the culpability, to take the blame, to take the culpability, good vocabulary word to learn, to take the culpability off of you onto whatever the excuse is. So in my case, it would be to take the blame off of me. It's not my fault. It was my chain's fault, or it was my strap's fault, or it was my dog's fault, or whatever. That's an excuse. But when it becomes a reason, when it's a reason is, I take the blame. That's the difference between a reason and an excuse. So my question to you is, what would you consider the difference between an excuse and a reason to be?